In this video, we're going to show you everything you need to know about the differences and similarities between XLR and RCA. As you can see in front of me, I have a bunch of different pro audio equipment. Both of these cables are used for consumer-based audio, pro-based audio. So let's work through the pros and cons and benefits and how to convert one from the other when we're talking about XLR versus RCA cable. Now, first of all, if you are looking for pricing or specs for anything that you see in this video, we do have links down in the description below where you can find everything that you see in this video from a variety of online retailers to make sure that you are getting the best price possible. Now, in terms of where you actually find either one of these cables, there are some general rules, but there's also a lot of gray area as well. Typically, you'll tend to find RCA on anything that's considered to be consumer. So a record player at your home, a home theater system, speaker systems, a home receiver, an old camcorder, something like that. Generally now, you'll find RCA only on things that are less expensive. Especially when we look at the DJ world, if you have an inexpensive DJ controller, it'll typically only have RCA outputs. But once you get up to a high-end or pro audio, then you'll typically find XLR more often. XLR is pretty typical that you'll see connecting microphones to sound systems and audio mixers to speakers and that type of thing. There are some audio mixers that have RCA and XLR, and there are a lot of DI boxes and extra pro audio equipment that have both as well. But generally, as a rule, you'll find RCA on consumer-based stuff and XLR on more pro audio-based stuff. Next, let's talk about the differences between a balanced and unbalanced audio signal. This is especially relevant when we're talking about the difference between XLR and RCA. Now, RCA is considered to be unbalanced, and XLR is considered to be balanced. What does that mean? Well, if you took apart an RCA cable, you'll find that there's only one conductor and one ground. So there's two different strands going through an RCA cable. If you take a look at an XLR cable, there's two conductors plus a ground. And how it works is each conductor is phase inverted, and as the signal moves down your cable, if you pick up any noise or interference, it's rejected by the phase inversion of the signal going down the cable. RCA doesn't have that protection. So what does this mean in practical terms? Generally, you want to keep your RCA cables as short as possible. Typically, I recommend keeping them in the 6 to 10 foot range and no longer. Some people will recommend that you can get up to 15 or 20 feet, but the bottom line is the longer your RCA cable is, the more susceptible you are to picking up noise, interference, static, white noise. Just basically, you'll get audio degradation over the length of your cable. Now with XLR, on the other hand, because it has this built-in phase inversion, you can theoretically go up to 1,000 feet with no audio degradation. Would I ever go 1,000 feet? Probably not. But doing live sound all the time, going to 100, 200, or 300 feet with the XLR cable is no problem at all, and I've never noticed audio degradation. With RCA, second I go over that 10-foot mark, I usually notice audio inconsistencies, and it's just not as pro level anymore. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that there's actually a volume output difference on an RCA output compared to an XLR output. Right in front of me here, I have a DJ controller that has both sets of outputs. RCA outputs out of the back of this audio controller comes out at minus 10 dB. The XLR outputs come out at plus 4 dB. Now, depending on the manufacturer, that might be 0 dB or plus 4 dB, but the punchline here is that in general terms, your RCA level signal is about 10 to 14 dB quieter than an XLR line level signal. That's a massive difference. If you're just connecting a pair of powered speakers to a DJ controller, that 14 dB will compound as you add more speakers to your PA system. And what this basically gives you is known as headroom. You can go louder without peaking or distorting if you use an XLR output compared to an RCA output. The same thing is found on other audio mixers or DI boxes or any other pro audio equipment. You'll always find that RCA level outputs are 10 to 14 dB quieter than anything XLR related. So now you might be wondering, okay, so it sounds like XLR is better than RCA. So how do I convert my RCA signal to XLR? Let's quickly go through some basics here. We do have longer videos on how to do this, but let's go through some basics. Now, the first option that you can use is a cable like this. This cable will take RCA and convert it to XLR. Depending on what you need, you can get like a male or female RCA end on this or a male or female XLR. So whatever you're trying to connect to or whatever you're trying to do, you can make this work. Now, This cable has nothing fancy. It's literally just soldered together. So how this works, if you remember how I talked about balanced versus unbalanced signals, only one pin from the RCA is connected to an XLR. So despite having an XLR connector, this is not balanced. This is an unbalanced signal. So whatever you're connecting this to, you can't be running this longer than 10 feet or you will get audio degradation. Will this work in a pinch? Yes, it does. Do DJs do this all the time to connect their DJ controllers to speakers that are right beside them? Yes, they do. Do I recommend it? No, I don't. This is inexpensive and it can work in a pinch, but I would not recommend it on anything that you're getting paid to do. If you're getting paid to do a live event or something like that, you're going to want something higher quality than this. Now, the second option that you have is to use a cable like this going into an audio mixer. This will connect RCA to unbalanced 1/4 inch TS. So again, this is unbalanced, so you'd want your audio mixer to be close to whatever you're doing. But what you can do is you can connect your RCA here to your audio controller or audio equipment that you're using and connect the other end to an audio mixer. The audio mixer will take whatever else you have, microphones or line level signals, mix it all together and spit out XLR. So that will give you a proper full +4 line level signal that is completely balanced. This will already be a big upgrade on whatever else you're doing. A lot of DJs and stuff already have audio mixers like this, so this is a really great solution for you. Now, if you don't want to get an audio mixer, that's okay too. You can actually get a DI box. So how a DI box works is it has a transformer in it, and it will copy, phase invert, and convert it to XLR for you. So basically the punchline here is that it will take your RCA cables that you plug into this, balance that signal for you, and then spit out XLR. Now, one problem that a DI box doesn't solve, and this is why I recommend an audio mixer more, is this doesn't solve the volume difference problem. This will still be that kind of 10 to 14 dB quieter than a pure XLR signal. So if you use an audio mixer, you can compensate and turn things up and get that headroom that you're looking for. But if you're doing a DI box, this will only balance the signal so you can run it a long distance. It won't solve the volume problem of RCA. Now let's quickly go through some frequently asked questions that we get all the time just for the sake of making this video complete. Does RCA sound better than XLR? There's a couple ways to answer this question. Overall, you'll find that XLR cables are better shielded and better built than RCA cables. RCA cables have a tendency to be kind of on the low end and inexpensive. But two, the bigger issue here is that XLR cables are balanced, like we mentioned before, and RCA cables are not balanced. So this means that over the length of your cable, RCA is way more susceptible to picking up noise and interference and actually ruining your audio, where XLR is known to give you a clean transmission over a long cable run up to 1,000 feet. Can you use a RCA to XLR cable? Yes, you can, but as I mentioned before, this would still be considered unbalanced, so you wouldn't want to do anything that involves a whole cable run longer than 10, 15, or 20 feet. I prefer to keep these runs less than 10 feet. They do work in a pinch, but they're not a great solution. How long can an RCA cable run? They sell 50-foot RCA cables. I don't recommend it. Every time I've used one, you end up getting that big ground hum, and it just sounds horrible. So I don't recommend it. Again, my recommendation is 6, 10 feet. If you're in a pinch, 15, but I really don't recommend running longer than 10 or 15 feet. And lastly, how long can an XLR cable run? An XLR cable, the theoretical distance is 1,000 feet or 300 meters. That's a super long distance. In practical terms, I used to run all the time 100, 200, or 300 feet with XLR cable without any problems whatsoever. Your mileage may vary depending on your environment and what you're experiencing, but the XLR spec says that it is good to 1,000 feet, so it is known to be a much better cable to use than RCA. If you have any questions that we didn't answer, please leave a comment down in the comment section below. Again, if you are looking for pricing or specs for anything that you see here, we have links down in the description below. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.